Hey, what's up? This is Pete, and welcome back to Underdog Garage. Hope you're having a fantastic day. As I've been working on installing this rocker panel on our MX-5 Miata, I've gotten a few requests from you guys asking if I was going to be covering the welding part of the repair, and while there was some welding footage in part 4 that kind of covered the process overall, I thought it'd be really helpful for you if I posted up the raw welding footage from when I was recording so you could kind of get a sense of the process, and I can kind of talk about what I was going through, anything I noticed that I thought was really helpful for me when I was doing this, and maybe it could be helpful for you. So with that said, let's go ahead and get into it. The first thing I did was adjusting my settings for my welder. I was making sure that I was set for, I believe, 16 gauge. For my gas, I was using a C25 argon mix, and I had the flow rate set to 25 CFM when I pulled the trigger. You notice that I have a ton of clamps around the panel, and those were all there to just make sure that I had it in the correct position when going to weld. So I just really wanted to make sure the panel was in there nice and exactly in the correct position it needed to be in. This part was pretty nerve-wracking for me because you kind of only get one shot at this, and it's kind of all about the preparation, just making sure everything is lined up and correct, and making sure that you have clean metal as possible. I found that after I got a few of the welds in, I had to kind of shuffle where the clamps are going to be, so just to kind of get access to the other spot welds that were on the top rail. I believe in total there were 80 spot welds to weld around the entire panel, so that's both the top rail and the bottom rail. So what I really tried to focus on when I was running these spot welds was starting in the center of the hole and running the bead in a circle around the hole until I completely filled it up. And there were quite a few times where I would botch the weld because I couldn't really quite see the back edge of the spot weld, and I'd have to go back and fill it. But if I had to go back and weld a couple more times just to fill everything in and make sure it was completely secure, that I just found that to be kind of a tricky point. Alright, so here I'll go a little bit close up. And if you're wondering why the footage is so dark, I underexposed it so that you could kind of better see what was going on in the welding area. At a normal exposure, it would have just been way too bright. So I just wanted to darken it for you so you could see what was going on a little better. And you can see I've got the ground pretty close to the welding area. I wanted to try and keep the grounding wire as close as I can to the area I'm welding so that any sort of part getting in the way of the electrical current. So here I started tacking in some of the bottom rail spot welds, and so sometimes it was tricky and I was a little hesitant to kind of pull the trigger, which that's one thing I kind of learned through this, is that you really got to commit to pulling the trigger and staying on it, because if you kind of feather the trigger, it doesn't flow very well, and overall the weld doesn't come out great. So you just got to commit to going for it. I found that as I went through this more and more, every plug weld I got a little more confident, a little more sure that what I was doing was correct, and it just every weld I felt better and better, more comfortable pulling the trigger. And really it's just practicing a lot and making sure that you have your welding technique kind of down pat. One thing I would also mention, that before you even weld in the panel, practicing welds in the position you're going to be welding in. For me, like, doing a spot weld is pretty easy when it's on a table and I'm standing and I can, see the work really well. But in this case, unless you have a lift, this is down at ground level, so you kind of have to lay on your side and weld sideways. I would set up little metal plates. I would practice in that position, and that really helped me get better at the technique and helped me feel more comfortable about welding in that position. So I wanted to break this footage up into a couple parts because I know it's a lot of footage, so I didn't want to kind of take up too much time. So if you want to watch more, I'll be putting out another raw welding footage video. Again, if you have questions or comments about this, and feel free to send me an email or comment below. Like I said, a lot of this comes down to preparation, prepping the panel, and prepping your technique. All right, that's it for this episode. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. Make sure to comment, give it a thumbs up if you like the video. Questions, comments, concerns, leave them down below. And make sure you subscribe so you don't miss more episodes. And we will see you next time. Thanks.